I'm Daniel, a 42-year-old architect with a penchant for clean lines and orderly spaces. My life with Emily, my wife of 15 years, felt like one of my designs. Structured, elegant, dependable. We lived in a restored Victorian in Portland. Our days a rhythm of shared coffee mornings, her yoga classes, and my late nights sketching blueprints. Emily, with her auburn hair and quick laugh, was my anchor, the one who made chaos feel like art. Our daughter, Lily, 10, completed the picture, her chatter filling our home with light. But lately, I'd noticed Emily's light dimming. She'd linger over her phone, her smiles fleeting, her excuses to leave the house piling up. Client meetings, book club, errands that stretched too long. I chalked it up to stress. Her event planning business was booming, after all. Yet, a gnawing unease settled in my gut, like a crack in a foundation you can't see but know is there. One evening, I found her in the kitchen, texting furiously, her face flushed. When I asked who it was, she snapped her phone shut, muttering about a demanding client. Her eyes wouldn't meet mine. That night, I lay awake, her breathing soft beside me, and felt the first tremor of doubt. Was I imagining things? I'd always trusted her implicitly, her warmth, her loyalty. But the air between us had shifted, heavy with unspoken words. I decided to watch, to wait, to trust my instincts as I did with my designs. A week later, I found a receipt in her purse for a cafe I'd never heard of, dated for a time she'd said she was at yoga. The crack widened. I wasn't a man to snoop, but the receipt burned a hole in my pocket. The cafe, a chic spot called L'Espresso, was 20 miles from our usual haunts. I drove there the next day, my heart thudding as I scanned the place. Exposed brick, hipster baristas, couples leaning close. I asked the manager, a wiry guy named Theo, if he'd seen Emily. Showed him a photo. His nod was casual but certain. Yeah, she's been in a few times. Usually with a tall guy, dark hair, fancy watch. My stomach lurched. I thanked him and left, the world tilting. At home, I checked our bank statements, discreet charges to L'Espresso, a boutique hotel, a lingerie shop. None of it aligned with gifts or surprises for me. Emily's absences replayed in my mind. Late nights, sudden trips, her perfume lingering when she claimed she'd been at the gym. I confronted her that evening, keeping my voice steady. Who's the guy at L'Espresso? Her face froze, then softened into a laugh. What? It's probably just a client, Dan. You're being paranoid. But her hands trembled as she poured wine. I let it drop, but the lie hung between us like damp rot. I hired a private investigator the next day, a grizzled man named Frank who smelled of stale coffee and promised discretion. He tailed Emily for a week, his reports clinical but damning. Lunches with a man, stolen moments in a hotel lobby, her car parked outside a sleek condo downtown. Frank handed me photos. Emily, radiant, clinging to a man I didn't know. My world cracked open. The man in the photos was Marcus Reed, a real estate developer I'd met at one of Emily's galas. Mid-40s, polished, with a smile that screamed money. I remembered his handshake, firm and smug, and how Emily had laughed at his jokes that night, her hand brushing his arm. Frank's dossier painted a picture. Marcus, married, no kids, a trail of affairs behind him. He and Emily had been meeting for months, their encounters meticulous, hotels, his condo, never our home. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was a calculated unraveling of our life. I sat in my study, the photos spread before me, each one a knife. Emily's smile in them was one I hadn't seen in years. Not for me. I wanted to rage, to confront her, but something colder took root. I needed proof undeniable before I acted. I installed a tracking app on her phone, hidden in a software update. Her movements confirmed Frank's reports. Marcus's condo, late-night drives, a pattern of deceit. One night, she claimed a work event, but the app showed her at Marcus's. I drove there, parked across the street, and watched her slip inside, her silhouette merging with his through the window. My hands shook on the steering wheel, but I didn't storm in. Revenge, I realized, needed precision, not passion. I began documenting everything, texts, locations, photos, building a case as methodically as I'd design a skyscraper. Emily's lies were my blueprint now. Living with Emily became a performance. I cooked dinners, kissed her cheek, read to Lily, all while the truth festered. She played her part too, her affection almost convincing, but I saw the tells. Her phone never left her side, her excuses polished. I wondered how long she'd planned this double life, how she justified it. Did she love Marcus? Was I just the safe bet, the fallback? The questions gnawed, but I buried them, focusing on my plan. I dug deeper into Marcus, learning his routines, his weaknesses. He was a creature of ego, flashy cars, tailored suits, a reputation for bending rules. His wife, Claire, was a quiet woman, a philanthropist who seemed oblivious to his wandering. I met Claire at a charity event, posing as a donor. She was kind, unassuming, and I felt a pang of guilt for what I'd unleash. But she deserved truth as much as I did. I slipped her a note with Frank's number, suggesting she check on Marcus. Days later, Frank reported Claire had hired him too. The web was tightening. Meanwhile, Emily grew careless, lingering sense of Marcus's cologne, a hotel keycard left in her coat. I kept silent, my anger crystallizing into something sharp and deliberate. I began planting seeds, casual mentions of l'espresso, questions about her clients. Her unease was palpable, but she doubled down, gaslighting me with smiles. I was done being her fool. Revenge, I learned, is a slow burn, not a blaze. I wanted Emily and Marcus to feel the weight of their betrayal, to lose what they valued most. Their reputations, their comfort, their illusion of control. I started with Marcus. His real estate empire thrived on trust, so I contacted a journalist, Lena, known for exposing corruption. Anonymously, I fed her tips about Marcus's shady deals, permits fast-tracked with bribes, inflated appraisals. I included photos of him with Emily, hinting at a pattern of recklessness. Lena took the bait, her investigation gaining traction. For Emily, I targeted her business. Her clients valued her charm, her perfect life. I created an anonymous blog, leaking subtle truths, her absences, her meetings at hotels, backed by timestamps and photos. Gossip spread among her circle, whispers at galas. Her bookings slowed, her confidence frayed. At home, I played the devoted husband, but I sabotaged her subtly, misplacing her keys, forgetting to pass on client messages. She grew erratic, snapping at Lily, blaming me for her stress. I felt no joy, only resolve. Claire, meanwhile, was closing in. Frank told me she'd confronted Marcus, her lawyer prepping for divorce. I waited, knowing the final blow would come when Emily and Marcus realized their worlds were collapsing. Not because of chance, but because of me. The architect of their ruin was ready to unveil his masterpiece. The air in our home grew brittle, like glass ready to shatter. Emily's composure was fraying. Her phone buzzed constantly, her eyes darting when I entered a room. I kept my routine steady, sketching blueprints by day, playing the attentive husband by night, but every move was calculated. The blog I'd started was gaining traction, its anonymous posts about Emily's extracurriculars, shared in Portland's tight-knit social circles. Clients canceled, citing vague concerns about her reliability. At a dinner party, I overheard a guest whisper about Emily's mystery man, and her face flushed crimson as she deflected with a laugh. I said nothing, but my pulse quickened. The journalist, Lena, was closing in on Marcus. Her articles hinted at his shady deals, naming projects tied to his firm. I fed her more emails I'd hacked from his assistant, detailing payoffs to city officials. Marcus's empire was teetering, and I savored the thought of him scrambling. Claire's divorce filing hit the news, her lawyer citing irreconcilable differences. Frank told me she'd found evidence of Marcus's affairs, including Emily. I pictured Claire's quiet rage, mirroring my own. Emily sensed the noose tightening. She grew paranoid, accusing me of spying when I asked about her day. "You're suffocating me, Dan," she snapped one night, storming out. The tracker showed her at Marcus's condo. I didn't follow. Instead, I poured a whiskey and planned the next phase. Their worlds were crumbling, but I wanted them to know why. I began crafting a reveal, a public unmasking that would strip them bare. Lily, oblivious, asked why Mommy was sad. I hugged her, promising everything would be okay, but my heart ached. This wasn't just for me anymore. It was for her, for the life Emily had betrayed. Emily's business was hemorrhaging. Her biggest client, a tech mogul, dropped her for a rival planner, citing reputational concerns. The blog's whispers had reached critical mass, and her phone calls with Marcus grew frantic. I overheard snippets when she thought I was asleep. "They're talking, Marcus. Someone knows." Her voice trembled, and I felt a grim satisfaction. Marcus wasn't faring better. Lena's latest article named him directly, linking him to a bribery scandal. His investors pulled back, and his condo went up for sale. I watched him at a gala Emily dragged me to, his charm replaced by a hunted look. He avoided her, his eyes scanning the room for threats. I played the oblivious husband, shaking his hand with a smile. "Tough week, huh?" I said, watching him flinch. Emily clung to my arm, her performance brittle. I leaned in, whispering, "You seem stressed, Em. Something you want to tell me?" She paled but laughed it off. That night, I escalated. Using a burner phone, I texted Marcus a photo of him and Emily at L'Espresso, with a note. "She's not worth it. Neither is your empire." He didn't respond, but Frank reported Marcus hiring security. Spooked. I turned to Emily's social world next. Her book club, her yoga friends, they were her lifeline. I sent anonymous emails to key members, attaching photos of her with Marcus, framed as concern. "Is this who you trust?" Invites dried up. Emily cried in the bathroom, thinking I couldn't hear. I wanted to feel pity, but the image of her in his arms burned it away. My revenge was a machine now, gears turning toward a final reckoning. I needed a stage for their downfall, something that would expose them to everyone who mattered. Emily's annual charity gala, her crown jewel, was perfect. She'd spent months planning it, a glittering event for Portland's elite. This year, I'd make it her undoing. I volunteered to help, insisting on overseeing the tech setup, slides, videos, lighting. She was too distracted to question it. I worked late, embedding a special presentation in the gala's slideshow, time to play during her speech. It was a montage. Photos of her and Marcus, hotel receipts, texts I'd pulled from her phone, all set to a soft piano track for maximum impact. I tested it in my study, the images searing my retinas. This wasn't just exposure. It was annihilation. Meanwhile, Lena's investigation hit Marcus harder. A second article detailed his financial ties to a corrupt councilman, prompting a federal probe. His firm's stock tanked, and Claire's divorce lawyer was bleeding him dry. I sent him another text from the burner. "Tick-tock, Marcus. Truth's coming." He changed his number, but the fear was in him now. Emily, unraveling, leaned on me, oblivious to my role. "I don't know what's happening, Dan," she sobbed one night. "Everything's falling apart." I held her, my voice steady. "We'll get through it, Em." The lie tasted like ash, but it kept her close, unsuspecting. I met with Frank to finalize details. He'd hacked Marcus's email, pulling steamy messages to Emily, proof of their affair. I added them to the gala presentation. The event was days away, and I felt like a conductor tuning an orchestra for a catastrophic crescendo. The night of the gala arrived, a crisp autumn evening at a downtown ballroom. Emily was a vision in emerald silk, her smile a fragile mask as she greeted guests. I wore a tailored suit, playing the proud husband, but my nerves hummed like live wires. The presentation was loaded, the tech crew briefed to let it run. Marcus was there, cornered by investors, his face gaunt. I watched him dodge Emily's glances, their connection fraying under pressure. Claire attended too, her presence a quiet storm. I tipped her off about the gala, ensuring she'd witnessed the reveal. The room buzzed with Portland's elite. Clients, friends, the people Emily and Marcus courted for status. Dinner passed in a blur, my pulse pounding as Emily took the stage to speak. She thanked sponsors, her voice steady but thin. The slideshow began behind her, innocent images of the charity's work. Then, my trigger. The screen flickered, and there they were, Emily and Marcus, tangled in a hotel lobby, followed by receipts, texts, his emails professing obsession. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Emily froze, her mic trembling. Marcus bolted for the exit, but security, tipped by Frank, blocked him. Claire stood, her face stone, and walked out. Guests whispered, "Phones out," recording the wreckage. Emily stammered, then fled the stage, her dress catching on a chair. I stayed seated, my face neutral, as chaos erupted. The blog exploded with posts, the gala trending locally by midnight. Their reputations were ash, and I'd lit the match. Emily didn't come home that night. She texted about staying with a friend, but the tracker showed her at a motel. I didn't care. The gala's fallout was surgical. Her business was dead, her social circle gone. Marcus's firm collapsed under the scandal, his assets frozen in the federal probe. Claire's divorce left him with nothing but legal fees. I fielded calls from friends, feigning shock at Emily's betrayal. Lily, confused, asked where Mommy was. I shielded her, saying Mommy needed time. The truth would come later, gentler. I dismantled Emily's world further, canceling her credit cards, redirecting her mail to a P.O. box I controlled. Her voicemails piled up. Please, then anger, then silence. Marcus, I learned, had fled to a cheap apartment, his ego gutted. I sent him a final burner text. You took my life. I took yours. The blog, now a local sensation, kept their shame alive, updated with fresh leaks I'd saved. I met Lena for coffee, thanking her anonymously for her work. She suspected I was involved but didn't press. My revenge was complete, but the house felt hollow without Lily's laughter, without the illusion of Emily's love. I pored over my blueprints, designing a new life for us, one where betrayal couldn't touch us. Emily would return, begging, and I'd be ready. Not with forgiveness, but with a cold, final goodbye. The days after the gala were a blur of silence and aftermath. Emily's absence left a void in the house, her perfume lingering on pillows, her coffee mug untouched in the sink. Lily's questions grew sharper. Why isn't Mommy home? Is she mad at us? I deflected with half-truths, saying Mommy was working through some things, but my chest ached for my daughter's confusion. I threw myself into routine, driving Lily to school, sketching blueprints, but the triumph of my revenge felt like ash. I dismantled Emily and Marcus, but the cost was a fractured home. The blog, still anonymous, churned out posts, fueled by public fascination. Strangers commented, dissecting Emily's fall, Marcus's ruin. I read them late at night, a grim ritual, but the satisfaction waned. Portland's elite shunned them both. Emily's clients gone, Marcus's deals dead. Frank called with updates. Marcus was drinking heavily, holed up in a dingy apartment. Emily had moved to a friend's couch, her savings dwindling. I felt no pity, only a cold resolve to finish what I'd started. I hired a lawyer, drafting divorce papers that would leave Emily with nothing but her shame. The tracker showed her circling our neighborhood, never stopping. I wondered if she sensed the end. One night, I found a letter slipped under the door, her handwriting, begging to talk. I burned it without reading. My revenge wasn't done. I wanted her to face me, to see the man she'd broken now unbreakable. Lily deserved a father who fought, not one who forgave. I began planning a final confrontation, one that would sever her from our lives forever, leaving her to drown in the wreckage I'd built. Emily showed up on a rainy Tuesday, her hair plastered to her face, eyes hollow. I let her in, my voice flat, Lily at a friend's house for the night. She stood in our foyer, dripping, her defiance gone. Dan, I'm sorry, she started, voice cracking. I didn't mean for this. I cut her off, tossing a folder of photos, her and Marcus, hotel receipts, texts, onto the table. You meant every second, I said, my tone ice. She flinched, tears spilling, but I felt nothing. She tried explaining. Marcus was a thrill, a mistake. She loved me still. The lies were pathetic, her charm eroded. I laid out the divorce terms. She'd get nothing, no custody, no alimony. Her business was dead, her friends gone. I'd made sure of it. You built this, I told her, pointing to the folder. I just tore it down. Her knees buckled, but she didn't fight. I handed her a pen, demanding she sign a confession of her affair, a legal nail in her coffin. She scrawled her name, sobbing, and I felt the weight of 15 years dissolve. I told her to leave, to never contact Lily without my permission. She begged, clutching my arm, but I pried her off, shutting the door on her wails. Outside, rain swallowed her footsteps. I stood in the silent house, the confession in hand, and realized this wasn't closure. It was amputation. I poured a whiskey, toasting the man I'd become. Not a victim, but a sculptor of ruin. Emily's life was rubble, and I held the chisel. I wasn't done with Marcus. His fall was public, but I wanted it personal. He'd taken my trust, my wife, my peace. I'd take his pride. Frank tracked him to a dive bar, a shadow of the polished developer. I went there, blending into the crowd, watching him slump over cheap beer. His fancy watch was gone, pawned, Frank said. I sent a drink to his table, attached to a note. From the man you wronged. He read it, eyes wild, scanning the room. I stepped forward, my face calm. Remember me, Marcus? His mouth opened, no words. I leaned in, voice low. You thought you could take what's mine and walk away. Look at you now. I slid a flash drive across the table. Copies of his emails to Emily, his bribes, enough to keep the feds circling. This goes public unless you leave Portland. Forever. He stammered, sweat beading, but nodded. I left him there, a broken man, and tipped Lena about the drive. Her next article buried him, his name toxic. Back home, I dismantled the blog, its purpose served. Emily's confession sat locked in my safe, insurance against her return. I felt no joy, only a grim necessity. Lily's drawings covered the fridge, a reminder of what mattered. I hired a therapist for her, preparing to explain Emily's absence. Marcus fled town days later, his apartment empty. Claire, I heard, was thriving, her charity soaring. My revenge had ripples, but I cared only for my daughter's future. I was rebuilding, brick by brick, on the ashes of betrayal. Months passed, and the house felt lighter, though scars remained. Lily adjusted, her laughter returning, guided by therapy and my steady presence. I told her a gentle version of the truth. Mommy made mistakes, needed time away, but loved her. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. I sold the Victorian, its memories too heavy, and bought a modern loft downtown. All glass and clean lines, a space for new beginnings. My firm thrived, my designs bolder, as if vengeance had sharpened my edge. Emily surfaced once, emailing from Seattle, asking to see Lily. I replied through my lawyer. Supervised visits only if Lily agreed. She didn't push, her fire snuffed out. Marcus was a ghost, last seen in a small town working odd jobs. Lena's articles had made him untouchable. I stopped tracking them, their ruin complete. The confession and photos stayed locked away, a reminder of my power, but I no longer needed them. I dated cautiously, a teacher named Sarah, her kindness a balm. She didn't know my story, and I liked it that way. Lily adored her, and I saw a future, tentative but real. I volunteered at Lily's school, coached her soccer team, filled the gaps Emily left. The pain of betrayal lingered, but it fueled me now, not consumed me. I'd torn down their world with precision, and in its place, I built one for Lily and me, unshakable, designed to last. The architect in me was proud. The man in me was healing. A year later, I stood in my loft, sunlight streaming through the windows, Lily's laughter echoing as she painted with Sarah. The past felt like a blueprint I'd archived, its lines faded but never erased. Emily sent a letter, forwarded by my lawyer, her words heavy with regret. She was working as a receptionist, living alone, her life a shadow of what it was. She asked for forgiveness, not for herself, but for Lily's sake. I read it once, then filed it away. Forgiveness wasn't mine to give. That was Lily's choice when she was ready. Marcus, I learned, had vanished entirely, his name a footnote in Portland's scandals. Claire sent me a thank you note, cryptic but clear. She knew I'd sparked her freedom. I burned it, closing that chapter. My revenge had been cruel, yes, but deliberate. A response to a betrayal that wasn't just personal but profound. A violation of trust, of family, of the life I'd built. I didn't regret it. It had forged me, taught me my own strength. I looked at Lily, her paint-smeared smile, and saw my purpose. Sarah caught my eye, her warmth grounding me. The crack in my foundation was gone, replaced by something stronger. I'd dismantled Emily and Marcus, not with rage, but with the cold precision of an architect. Now I was designing again, not vengeance, but a life where love and trust could stand firm. The past was rubble. My future was a skyline rising.